there's another League of Legends game coming your way, this time with Rek'Sai in the jungle. And I am doing this post-game commentary, so everything should be smoother, I hope. We have Galio mid against Nami. Leona partnered with Corki bot against Lucian and Janna. I'm Rek'Sai in the jungle against Jarvan, and that's Malphite top against Riven. So the bad part is the Malphite picked Riven into that matchup if you see the placements. All in all, it's not a very good matchup for Malphite, and you're going to see kind of why. The one that swings in a way I didn't really predict is going to be the mid lane, and all in all, this game is going to summarize some of the reasons why I really do hate playing the game lately, and why I may end up suspending League at the end of this week. But anyway, Rek'Sai, your passive is Fury of Rek'Sai. You are resourceless. You can read the moves here. Pause if you want to read them. I'll go over them one by one as I do the first jungle clear. So you are resourceless. Your moves are completely free to use, only gated by cooldown. Your passive is what kind of links Rek'Sai to Tryndamere and Renekton, in that she generates Fury as she attacks and uses abilities. So the Fury you generate will affect your E once it reaches max, and then it will also be used to heal when you are burrowed underground using your W. The amount of health you get back scales with the level of Rek'Sai. I don't think anything else influences it, sadly. As for your Q, it's an auto attack modifier. You'll see it in a second here, since I think that's the best way to start. Probably really the only way to start, since your W... Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But anyway, your next 3 auto attacks will cause you to twirl around like that, damaging all enemies around you. You deal something like an additional 15 damage or something like that early on. So, if you factor in the 3 hits, that's an extra 45 damage. Not really bad for the first clear. And I went ahead and smited the one golem, the large one, for the stun effect, because that's pretty necessary for Rek'Sai's first clear. Anyway, I took the E, which I'll get to in a second. The Q when you're on the ground is the twirl. When you are burrowed, it becomes a linear skill shot with a pretty decent range. It will reveal the enemy if it hits them, but the one drawback to it, I'd say, is that it has an AP ratio. So, unless you're doing a gimmicky AP Rek'Sai build, you want to use that to scout more than anything else. Doesn't even really do enough damage to poke, since like late game it's only 100 when you're going to be looking at guys who have close to 2,000 hit points. But anyway, right there, Malphite went down to Riven, which is totally expected. I am losing all my Fury, sadly, since I don't have boots or a lot of movement speed. As for the W, that is your burrow. So when you're on the ground, that causes you to burrow. When you're burrowed underground, it causes you to burst up from the ground. And since I had to go back here, I went ahead and used the smite, if you're wondering. Really, I just wanted to get enough gold to get my jungle item, and right there I was looking to see how much health I'd have after the Fury was consumed, and it's not really enough to risk fighting the frog. But I went ahead and picked up the Stalker Blade. Since Rek'Sai is resourceless, you don't actually have to worry about mana problems in the jungle. As a result, for the manaless junglers, I really like to go for a more aggressive route than just the Ranger's Trailblazer, especially after the, I think it was like a 15-second cooldown increase on Smite. I'd have to look at the Fiddlesticks video to confirm that, but I'm trying to recall. While burrowed, you will consume the Fury, as your passive implies. You get a 20-point movement speed increase, I believe, and you do lose vision, but you gain the ability to hear the enemy move, which will be the white ripples on the ground when I'm moving around burrowed. When you want to surface, you will knock up all enemies that are right directly above you. You do some damage to them. I don't remember if that has an AD or an AP ratio, but you can see the Scuttler Crab leaving the white ripples. So minions, champions, all of those will leave that in there as long as they are within your circle. As for this, I want to gank the Nami because she doesn't really have an escape. I'm kind of hoping Galio would do his slow or something. But no, he messes the whole damn thing up. So I flashed for no reason. I end up burning my smite. And all in all, it's just a taste of what's to come with our Galio. Okay, moving on to the E. Your E is Furious Bite when you are not burrowed. You'll see me use it here in a second. As the name implies, you bite the enemy. It does increasing damage based off of how much fury you have, and when you reach max fury it does double damage, and the damage you deal is true damage. I don't know how this one scales exactly. It's not very clear from the tooltip if you paused and read it earlier on, but it's not exactly a bad move. Definitely worth picking up second, I think. Sadly, the cooldown on it is pretty long, so you gotta keep that in mind. As for this, I messed up the burrowing. I didn't know I would actually do an automatic attack, so I automatically unburrowed when I wanted to use my Fury for emergency healing, and yeah. So, that's the one drawback. Luckily, I didn't end up giving up anything. I didn't have any buffs to really lose. Sure, I did have the blue buff, but it's not like I really use mana. For my clears, I rely on the Q. It's no real loss. But as for the E, when you are burrowed, you are able to construct tunnels. You can have, I don't remember if it's a maximum of 8 or 10 tunnels, but they last 10 minutes, I believe. And they basically allow you to bypass terrain. And they are incredibly important to have them set up properly. Like right there, I just created one to allow me to move more quickly. They are incredibly important to set up because your ult is all about utility. It does absolutely no damage whatsoever. And if you are unable to maintain a tunnel network, your ult is completely useless. So this comes into play that your laners have to be able to maintain a certain amount of pressure to actually allow you to build these networks and not have them be destroyed. Because your tunnels can be destroyed by an enemy standing on them for something like 3 seconds. And worse, the enemy does get gold for destroying them, so there is some incentive there other than just making you miserable. And the tunnel, I believe, has something like an 18-second cooldown, so you just need to set those up as you play the game. It's not like you can do them all at once. And finally we reach the ult. I don't remember what the hell thing's called, but it has a passive attack speed increase like Nocturne's W or Severe's ult. So just picking that up does give you a smoother clear, and really if not for that, I don't really see any reason to max that move. As for what I pointed out on the inventory screen, or whatever you want to call that window, Malphite is rushing a Chalice, which gives him no protection whatsoever against Riven. So he's kind of going along the itemization fail route, and as a result, there's absolutely nothing I can do to save him. All in all, he's just in a downward spiral, and our hands are kind of tied. As for this, I used the smite on the red buff, and this is, like, early on I still tend to use the smite for some of the jungle camps, but once I get a couple items to speed up my clear, then I really don't. I'll hold on to the smite just for big objectives or killing champions. But as for your ult's active effect, you will dash to one of your tunnels. You get to choose which one. So it doesn't have a range limit or anything like that. You just flat out dash clear across the map if you so choose. And like I said, the ult is just pure utility. There's no damage. And as a result, I think I only use it once or twice in this entire video. And if you're looking at noticing the video is 40 minutes long, hopefully that tells you how situational that ult is. As for Jarvan here, he knows the ward. So right here I went kind of aggressive on him, but he still has his flag and drag to get to safety. Galio has next to no damage. And Malphite gives up yet another death. So I can go ahead and clean out that ward, and that ward's going to be there for a while yet. I don't think it actually goes down until Riven starts roaming. As for Riven, I don't really care to hide my feelings about her. You have all that damage mitigation, mobility, and a completely resourceless character's kit, which is complete BS. And the good news for us in this game is that we do have the ability to lock her down with Unstoppable Force, Idol of Durand, Unburrow, Zenith Blade, I can't remember what Leona's Q is called, but Solar Flare. Key thing is, even though she's snowballing, we actually do have the CC to slow her down. But as for this, since Galio kind of sucks, I don't want to give him the blue buff. I can actually make more use out of the gold and the cooldowns a little bit, but the key thing is I am rushing the Devourer, if you couldn't tell from my dagger. As for Rek'Sai, all of your damage comes from melee range, so I don't really see much incentive in going for the warrior or any of the others. Sure, the mages, you can try to do that gimmicky AP build, but I wouldn't bet on it. As for this, I put up a tunnel right there just so I could ult if need be, but right here I had to surface to take care of the pink ward, which means the enemy knows I'm here. Nami killed Galio. Small taste of things to be coming. And a little bit we are going to reach the point where I'm kind of starting to give up until we can actually line up our team fights. And as I mentioned with our ability to lock down Riven, we actually have a pretty strong team fight combo here. We have the Resolute Smite of Galio, I don't remember what the hell the Q on Rek'Sai is called, and then Corki's missiles to lay down a load of poke. And the worst part is, my Q, it also has the utility effect of granting vision. So even if we can't see the enemy, if I land the Q, then we will be granted vision, and then all of our other skill shots can become all the more accurate. As for this, you can see the ripples giving away Riven. Right there, she ulted. I didn't want to stick close to her, so right here I did a desperation play to try to save Galio, and I end up flashing her ult. And all in all, both of us live, which is the key thing. So I can go ahead and go back. I can pick up the other dagger, some potions, and if necessary, I could ult back into the fight. I do have some of the tunnels set up. On this back, I went ahead and picked up the rejuvenation bead for the Hydra. And right here, I was going to ult if she didn't destroy the tunnel in time, but she did. And right here, I'm just looking at where I need to go next. So Jarvan's moving in for a gank. I do have the tunnel behind the dragon pit, but it's not like Jarvan had the reinforcements there from the look of things, so all in all, we are still in the clear. But one of the things that's actually working to our advantage here is the whole sending a support to the mid lane only really helps if the enemy or the team in question has a hyper carry. Like the enemy team has Lucian. That isn't going to be able to take advantage of the concentration of gold on a solo laner. So Nami cannot have as much play potential as normal unless there was actually additional play from the AD carry, such as Jinx, Vayne, Tristcog, whatever. But right here I get to go ahead and take the next red buff. The red buff is pretty nice on Rek'Sai because it does proc off of your Q, so you can stack the slow. And not to mention, the red also has the health regen effect. I don't remember what exactly the ratio was for health regeneration, but basically it makes you healthier, which is the key thing, and why it's all the more important for certain junglers to have the red. Galio goes ahead and dies again. I have no idea how in the hell he's losing that bad, but he is. As for this, they mention the dragon, and we are really in no position to contest. Luckily, the Riven is packing Ignite, which means she doesn't have the global pressure that we do. I can go ahead and pick up the second Rejuve bead. But all in all, my team does have more split push power in that Malphite has a teleport, and I can ult into one of my tunnels. So as long as I have that network set up properly, I can split push. And all in all, I'd say Rek'Sai is a pretty solid duelist. You do have your E to allow you to close gaps or escape while burrowed. You have your Q for just a bunch of damage. The E does true damage if you stack up your Fury. And you just get the free stats from your ults, even though Riot was bitching about that a little while ago. As for this, I can go ahead and make the tunnel out of the dragon pit, and I was kind of hoping someone would go stand on the tunnel so I could shoot the dragon and have them tank it, but I guess they kind of knew that was coming. Meanwhile, Galio gets caught out, he starts to take a beating, and Lucian is kind of in a danger zone, but we aren't in a position to really take advantage of that. So right there we land our poke, and you can see what I mean by we can set up outside a tower and be pretty nasty. But right there I tried to engage on Janna, we forced her ult. Right there I can use my Q to spot Jarvan in the brush, and it's go time. So Idol of Durand on Janna, I end up eating a Cataclysm, and I have to limp out of here with the help of Galio's Bulwark. But I did kill Jarvan, Lucian killed Galio, which isn't really that much of a surprise. And all in all, the fight was kind of even. Sadly, their AD carry did get the kills, just... I've seen all kinds of stupid crap these days, and, like, Lucian in particular, if you didn't notice, he's rushing a Ghostblade. Which is not exactly what I'd recommend doing if you want to win. And I think he's actually going like Ghostblade Trinity Force, which is even worse. But I'm starting to become convinced that the decent players, the ones that are actually fun to play with, are on vacation, which is why I'm... At the end of the week, I may not put up any League videos until Season 5 is back in full swing, because I can't stand the player base as is. It really is that freaking ridiculous. But right here I can go ahead and cue the dragon, so we can see how far along they are, and it's time to fight. So right there Malphite came in, he did his Unstoppable Force. I smited Lucian for the slow, but Malphite kind of messed that up. So I had to go ahead and secure that, and it's good for me. I can use the gold, plus it's more stacks for my Devourer. As for Jarvan, I can go ahead and hit him to reveal him. And they are on... Is that Galio? Yes, that was Galio. So I pick off Janna. Jarvan's in a pretty bad spot, but I believe Leona... Oh, Leona killed him with the Solar Flare. So right here you can see we do manage to deal with the Riven. And I don't know if that was a shutdown, but the key thing is the bitch is dead. And Jarvan is down as well, so pretty much free dragon. Even though I don't have Smite, there's no way the enemy can contest this. So, with all that gold after the fight, I should have my Hydra now, I believe. Sadly, I did not get the dragon kill for the stacks that come with it, but key thing is we got it. It's going to give us additional AD and AP to try to salvage some of these lanes. And all in all, we do have pretty good objective control this game, and that's pretty much the only thing that keeps us in this, since the enemy is kind of crushing the solo lanes. And you may be asking, why don't I do more about it if the solo lanes are doing that bad? It's just... The Nami could be salvageable just because she's so immobile. For Riven, there's absolutely no chance of salvaging that lane. So my best course of action is to try to focus on the other lanes, and the lane in question is going to be the bot lane. All in all, I'm going to have to invest everything in Corki to try to carry this game for us. And of course, since I wasn't doing live comm, I was a little bit more sarcastic than normal. I don't know if you guys prefer it when I'm less serious or what. But, well, hopefully it's a bit of a change of pace since I haven't done Joys of Top Lane video in a little while. Don't remember if the last one was the Tryndamere one or not. But yeah, that one was probably me at my worst sarcastically. But anyway, with the Hydra, I need to start going tanky, and since Riven is a bit of an issue, Lucian's gained some kills, Jarvan does physical damage, I have to start stacking armor. So I start with the cloth armor with the prospect of getting a Randuin's Omen. The reason why I want the Omen is because I can either burrow or flash into the middle of the enemy team, drop my slow, I can knock people up into the air, and then I can just start proccing the Hydra on my Q for damage. And hopefully you can see that the synergy between the Q and the Hydra is not really to be underestimated. Even better since the Q does have an AD ratio. As for this, I'm wondering if there's anything I can do for the top lanes. Just Malphite squandered the lane. Galio is with me, but I don't believe we actually get Riven here. So right here I'm actually using my sound, or my sonar, whatever you should think about it, to figure out where she is, and she's all the way up there. So Galio can go ahead and take that lane while I just go back into the jungle, and I believe she is looping around. So, just a small hint of what's going to happen to Galio in a second. But otherwise, as for things to talk about, I want that tunnel there so that I can clear that wall if need be. It's just another place to ult if necessary. And right here you get to see Galio on the business end of Riven's sword. And one of the things that's actually working in his favor is just that bulwark. I assume he's maxing that second. That is actually helping him mitigate some of the damage. As for this, I fully engage on the Riven, thinking, hey, Malphite seems to be going AP, maybe he can do something, and let me see if I click on his inventory. Come on, click on the inventory. But yeah, the Malphite's a complete non-issue. He's pretty much an old bot. But right here I'm contemplating, do I need more armor? Should I go for the tier 2 boots? Should I start going for MR? Or what should I do? And ultimately I decided to go for the Warden's Mail. It's not going to help too much against Riven since she's an AD caster. I'm talking about the slow effect in particular. But it is additional armor. And it will help me a little bit against Lucian. And right there you can see Malphite's inventory, which is very, very sparse. But I am starting to run out of things to talk about. Like right there you got to see me use the tunnel before it finally implodes. And all in all I just need to try to keep the Devourer stacking so I can still do some damage late game. What I'm actually thinking at the moment is I may need to be prepared for a split push. Malphite's not going to be able to do it, to be honest, and I do have a lot of pushing power with my Q and my Tiamat. And here's a good part, you get to see me lay into Janna. So I could have flashed and then smited her if I wanted to, it's just didn't have vision on the rest of their team. Usually if the support's there, either the AD carry or the jungler is nearby, and Jarvan was. So if I flashed, that could have been much, much worse for me. And right there I got to see these ripples telling me that Riven was there. Leona goes in to stall her to let us escape. It does cost her life, sadly, but the good news is Nami got the kill. Like I said, if there's no hyper carry, you don't really want to be running a dual support comp. Right there you got to see Jarvan pop my tunnel. And right here he should know he's in a pretty bad situation. So I go ahead and smite him so that he knows he can't get out of this. Malphite flashes after him. And all in all, Malphite got a kill. It's not really going to help him too much, and well, it's flashed down. I don't remember what the Jarvan was building, but right there you got to see us lock down Riven, and she's the one we have to worry about. With her out of the picture, it's a much, much easier thing. And now would be our time to try to push into the tower. It's just, they actually do have a decent amount of wave clear with just Lucian in general. Then you have Nami and Janna being able to hold the wave at bay with Bubble and Tornado. And sadly, I'm not tanky enough to just let Lucian lay into me, but well, you'll see later on when I actually do that. But all in all, there goes the tower. And right here, I just need to keep farming. I need gold. As long as I can get the stacks of my Devourer and my items going, I should be set. And I don't remember if I explained my build here, but Devourer, Tiamat, full tank. I want to be the bruiser, the front line, the initiator if need be. One of the things that I've seen far, far too much lately is that when someone falls behind, especially the jungler, in the games I've been playing that is, they've been building glass cannon, which is the absolute worst thing you can do while behind. So in one of my games I actually had a Vi jungle who went, let's see, I think I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say it was Stalkers with the Warrior enchantment with a Black Cleaver and then the components of the Triforce. So when the Vi actually tried to go into ult, she actually died before she reached her target. It was that bad. As for this, my team decided to wait on the engage, and you get to see Riven go 1v4. She was about to kill Malphite too, but there's Corki to the rescue, and one phosphorus bomb later, no more Riven. Good news is I still got the assist off of that, and Corki does enough damage to keep them from taking the dragon while I'm down. As for this, I went ahead and picked up the cowl on this back, and right here I'm announcing that I'm going to ult, start the dragon, I will be there. Because like I said, your ult is just utility. This is pretty much the only thing I really see it being used for, unless you have a major split push threat in the game, which this game does not. So right there we force the monsoon out, Malphite is going to die. Not really much I can do about that. Nami gets that, I smite the dragon. And right here I couldn't clear the wall, but the way I moved, how I went in there and then turned around showing aggression, that can give the impression that I have some sort of reinforcement nearby. Sadly, Malphite was our guy with teleport, so if they were paying attention they'd know that was completely a bluff. But they backed off. One thing we did have going in our advantage was that it was the support there, so that was the other thing discouraging it, while I could have tried to tank Nami while Corki poked, etc. But yeah, I don't know if you guys want me to keep going about what the hell I've been seeing lately in terms of players. The guys that are behind, going glass cannon, wondering why they are still feeding, having junglers that, like, one game I had a Zac with a poacher's knife who never left his jungle. And hopefully that kind of makes sense to you. A poacher's knife. He didn't gank, he didn't do anything, and just all the lanes lost, and yeah. Hoping the players come back from vacation sometime soon. But as for this, it's basically the same situation as earlier. I don't really trust Malphite or Galio with that. And right here, I'm staying on this side of the wall because I knew she was going to either pop it or flash it. So I go ahead and smite her once she gets to the other side. Corki can show up, scoop up the kill. I still get the stacks for my Devourer, and then I can just go farm the jungle a little bit more. A couple extra stacks. So 2 from Riven, 1 from the Frog, grand total of 3 extra damage on each of my autos from here on out. As for this, sadly I was in the way of the tidal wave, so took some damage from that. And right there, Idol of Duran whiffed. I go ahead and hit Nami with my Q to try to reveal her. Like I said, it gives us vision so we can follow up with our poke. Like right there, Galio does his, crud, I forgot what the wind is called. Righteous Gust or something like that. That helps me speed up and engage, and then I just knocked up Lucian. That it will interrupt his ult, and then we can just lay into him. As for this, Corki does have his Triforce, so the turret will burn if we sit on it. Meanwhile, I just need to set Jarvan back some so I can go ahead and take his Wolf Camp. Just gotta Q it, use the time at or the Hydra when it's up. As for this, I noticed there is a ward in that brush. I noticed someone was following me, which is why I didn't stick around. And all in all, they are making their play here. So I can use the E to create some distance. I slowed Riven, and she goes in on Corki. So Corki goes down. Unfortunately, Jarvan happens to go to the absolute worst place possible for him, and I get to finish off Riven. So while we did lose Corki, the key thing is we got to kill Riven, so that's going to slow down her little snowball, and give us a little bit of a window to try to get some gold on our other guys like Malphite and Galio. Even though they are pretty much pure utility at this point, they will be for the rest of the game. But as for this back, I go for the Ninja Tabby, it looks like. Okay, I did have enough for Ninja Tabby and Spirit Visage. The whole point of the Ninja Tabby is there is a lot of AD on the enemy team, Riven, Jarvan, Lucian, and not to mention, if they know what they're doing, they should be auto-attacking me in the meantime. Like, that's how Riven maximizes her DPS with her passive. Lucian's an AD carry, hopefully that's a little self-explanatory. Meanwhile, Jarvan has his martial cadence. So he does want, I don't know if that actually procs off Dragon Strike or not, but that should give him incentive to hit me. As for the Visage, I need more, well, the CDR is always helpful, I need the MR, and then it's also going to give me increased healing for my Tiamat and then every other source that I happen to use. So once I do upgrade the Tiamat into the Hydra, that does mean I'm going to get more lifesteal from the various skirmishes. As for this, I go ahead and launch the Q through for vision. Like I said, you can use it to scout. I saw the blue buff wasn't there. You can see Jarvan just took it. And I go ahead and clear his pink ward. And right here I can see that the enemy is kind of collapsing on us. We're going to have a skirmish here. And Corki and Leona are pre-made, which is why this starts to go horribly wrong. So right there, Leona engages with her Zenith Blade. That causes Galio and me to go ahead and start our follow-up on the fight. Corki's going to rage at us about that, but it was his buddy that started the whole thing. So I was tanking tower for Galio. I did have the armor to kind of do it with the Warden's Mail. And as for this, we are going to get aced. I go ahead and pick off Riven. Corki kills Janna, no, Nami got away. So right there you can see Galio is no help whatsoever. Lucian goes ahead and gets a Quadra, but he's not the one I'm worried about. I can deal with him. And right there you can see his build. He had the Ghost Blade and the Sheen, which is not really that good. Like I said, I don't know what exactly happened to the quality of players lately, but it has gone downhill significantly. So right there you can see in the chat, Corki's upset that his support, his pre-made buddy, started the fight, and the rest of us followed up on it. But otherwise the dragon is up. I don't really know if they'd have the means to do that, or if they'd just be scared. Like, if I had a tunnel set up, I could just ult and then tunnel into the dragon pit for the steal. Right there we have the vision on the blue buff, so that kind of clues us in that they aren't actually there, and I guess Jarvan did not take it when he was there a second ago. As for this, the enemy wants to try to push mid rather than take the dragon. All in all, I'd say it's not really worth it, but I'm not going to argue with what I've been seeing from the player base lately. Sadly, Lucian did die before I could get the assist off of him. And since he did get the Quadra, that means there was a shutdown on him, which goes to Malphite. So, without Lucian, I think that's Riven in the top lane at the moment, so this is pretty much a free dragon for us. Bad news is, no one zoned Jarvan, Corki got a crit at the absolute worst time, and yeah. So, all in all, you get the whole crits are a double-edged sword thing going on here. Nami goes down. Riven picks off Galio, and there goes Malphite. So right here I'm wondering, do I need to go back to deal with her? But it looks like she's not actually going to follow up on this, so I can just go ahead, get in position, try to re-establish my tunnel network. Going back into what I said earlier, the whole problem I'm having with Riven at the moment is she has complete control over the top side of my jungle, the blue side. And there's absolutely nothing I can do to stop her because my solo lanes fed that hard. Like, they just fought her and she killed them both. Luckily, Leona does have the Frozen Heart, as we can see there. That's going to help a little bit with Lucian and a little bit with Riven, I guess. As for this, I was trying to figure out, did my tunnel time out or did someone step on it? But in the meantime, the chickens free stack, I'm not going to argue. And all in all, we just need to try to find them. So while I'm burrowed, I just have to look for the white ripples, and that may clue us in on someone who's hiding in a brush. And if you're wondering about my opinion of Rek'Sai, this is a pretty cool character, and I may be a little bit biased since if you follow the channel you know my preferred position is jungling. All in all, this person has kind of filled the void that Mundo used to have for me. Sadly, you are not a sustain tank, but you're just an all-around nasty customer. You have a lot of mobility, and while your ult doesn't really turn teamfights around, it does help you deal with certain characters, like namely Shen if he ever re-emerges as a highly contested pick. But otherwise, I think this is when we do the Baron. So right here I have my tunnels set up. You can use the ripples to find them, and right there we found Janna. So I go ahead and smite her to slow her down. That's going to allow us to secure the kill. I said we were going to secure the kill, damn it. Okay, I guess we just flushed her out. So she needs to go back, and the key thing is, I actually don't have Smite here. So this is very risky. Like I said, I don't really know how the E works just yet to know if I'm going to be dealing a significant amount of true damage, which I highly doubt. But I do have my teammates to try to help. We do have vision control around the Baron, so we just have to be a little bit careful when Jarvan shows up. Like right here we have Lucian, who's not really a threat to us. We can body block the culling, and if he jumps into the pit, he's dead. Anyway, Galio went ahead and got that for us, and right here I'm going to ult again just to clear the bot wave. I was thinking some of my teammates are going to recall, so no one's going to pick a fight. That would be a stupid thing to do. Check out that minimap. So while I'm trying to clear this, I realize they picked a fight. Enemy team is barreling down on them. We're going to lose Gallium in a second. There goes the tidal wave. He picked off Janna. Jarvan goes ahead and goes in. I show up in time to pick off Nami. And Galio goes down, but he manages to take Jarvan with, which is the key thing. As for this with the Baron buff, you can kind of guess what's about to happen to the inhibitor turret. So the ripples are kind of cluing us in on people's movements. Like, I believe that's actually Lucian that we were seeing retreat because he's sitting under the tower. As for Galio, a little bit of sarcasm, and right here I really don't give a damn if he tries to shoot me. I have a lot of armor, I have the Warden's Mail, the Ninja Tabby. I really don't care what he throws at me because I'm just going to shrug it off. So sooner, I don't know when exactly he noticed, hey, maybe I'll have better luck with Leona. Hint, you're not. Her Eclipse Shield, or whatever the W is called, is a surge of defensive stats, and it's just not a good time to be the Paladin. So I can go ahead and finish the Omen, and I can get the Hydra, and this is pretty much all I need to finish the game, as you may have noticed from the time. So we have one final fight coming up, I believe. Right there, the Baron and empowered minions are going to push the wave for us so we can try to get the inhibitor turret. As for this, I'm just trying to use my sonar, or whatever the hell the burrow sense is called. Tremor sense, I think it's called. To find out where people are hiding. Like we saw Riven there with the white ripples. For some reason, the dumbass decides to engage on me, and, well, we make her bleed. Sadly, the solar flare does answer empty, but they have to go back. And with the Baron buffed minions, the Baron buff on us, and the whole team here, there's pretty much nothing that can save that inhibitor. So, time for the final battle at the Dragon Pit. First things first, we need to steal everything we can along the way, starting with the blue buff. Since I'm resourceless, I don't need this, but Corky, our AD carry, who's pretty much carrying, could make very good use of it. So right here I wanted to get the Scuttler so we have the movement speed to turn and engage on them, since it's pretty obvious they want to fight here. And they kind of need to, because if we get the third dragon, we are going to be fast enough to really run them down. So this time Leona learned her lesson. Try to keep Jarvan distracted while I do this. And while it may seem like a bit of a suicide play, she's tanky enough to withstand it. Like Galio just body blocked the culling. I smited the dragon for the buff, and this is the end of the game. So Jarvan has to do a suicide cataclysm to keep me at bay while Riven gets the crap kicked out of her. She goes down, now we just have to chase down Lucian. Galio gives me the movement speed. And there's pretty much nothing that can save Lucian. Like, he just got slowed, otherwise I was going to pop up underneath him with the E. And he just goes down. So right here I want to push out the top lane. There are tunnels down there for me to ult if need be. It's just I don't know what my team wants to do. Like, we're not really in good health, but then again it's just the support characters that are up. So it could go either way. But the enemy team throws in the towel because they are starting to see the writing on the wall. Even though the solo lane's fed, they did have utility to keep them relevant. But otherwise, Rek'Sai in the jungle. New character that I very much like. And I'll probably be playing her even though I may not be recording. But anyway, thoughts and observations will be going in the description. I'm the Hero of Light. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.